do this proclamation now on Disability Voting Rights Week. I'd like to invite Kate Laddish to join me. I think the Yolo County Assessor, Clerk, Recorder, and Elections Official Jesse Salinas was here. Oh, he's here? Great. So good to see you both. Good morning. Let me hand that all to you. Resolution. So Yolo County is home to almost 20,000 voting age residents with some type of disability, and the CDC estimates that most Americans will either have a disability at some point in their lives or know someone who does. Because voting is a fundamental right for every citizen and is necessary for a functioning democracy, all voters, including those with disabilities, must have access to vote. The ADA, which was passed in 1990, was a landmark federal law that prohibits discrimination against individuals with disabilities in all areas of public life. It ensures that voters of all abilities would have equal access to both register to vote and to vote privately and independently. The Yolo County Elections Office established the Voting Accessibility Advisory Committee in 2021, adopting the Voters' Choice Act in 2022, and creating an election administration plan that prioritizes outreach and education in an accessible voting experience for voters with disabilities. The Yolo County Voting Accessibility Advisory Committee is comprised of community members representing their own lived experience, members of local disability advocacy organizations, and other local boards and organizations, and subject matter experts who provide assistance and recommendations to the county to maximize voting accessibility and to increase voter participation among people with disabilities. Members of the National Disability Rights Community are organizing the 6th Annual Disability Voting Rights Week for September 11th through 15th, 2023, which we're in now, of course, to provide the rights of people with disabilities to participate fully in our democracy and to highlight the ongoing work to support voters with disabilities throughout the voting process. So please join us in proclaiming the week of September 11th through 15th, 2023 as Disability Voting Rights Week. Thank you so much. Kate, come on up. Welcome.
Is it going to cause a disturbance in the force?
No, you're good. You do it. I can move that.
Great. All right, let's see if I can do this without knocking your desk over. All right. Thank you, Chair Villegas and members of the board for proclaiming this week Disability Voting Rights Week in Yolo County, and thank you to Supervisor Frericks for those remarks. So my name is Kate Laddish. I'm a member of the Yolo County Voting Accessibility Advisory Committee, as well as chair of the Yolo County In-Home Supportive Services Advisory Committee and a co-founder and steering committee member of the nonpartisan civic engagement group Democracy Winters. As Supervisor Frericks said, voting is truly a fundamental right, and it's for every citizen, and it's necessary in a functioning and participatory democracy. And having a disability must never be a barrier to registering to vote and voting privately and independently. These foundationally important concepts are easy enough to state. The challenge, or perhaps we could say the excitement or the adventure, is in the details. So, and as Supervisor Frericks said, almost 20,000 people in Yolo County, according to the American Community Survey of 2021, have a disability. This is almost surely a vast undercount. So accommodations are not a one-size-fits-all disability sort of thing. So we must take into consideration challenges experienced by and accommodations for people with mobility disabilities, people with blindness, low vision, and other vision disabilities, people who are deaf or hard of hearing, people with cognitive disabilities, people with speech, language, sensory, and learning disabilities, people with mental illness, and people with many other disabilities, including those readily apparent and those not apparent to others. Something as seemingly insignificant as having a hand tremor can directly affect somebody's ability to vote. In anticipation of adopting the Voters' Choice Act model of election administration, Yolo County Elections Office established the Voting Accessibility Advisory Committee, or the VAC, in 2021. And this group, which meets monthly, advises the Elections Office on accessibility matters affecting older adults and people with disabilities, and is a forum for voicing concerns and suggesting remedies and creating opportunities for collaboration and outreach. So topics of discussion include the siting and maintaining safe and accessible vote centers and ballot drop box locations, accessibility of elections communications, effective provision of information to the public about accessible ballot marking devices, the remote accessible vote by mail system, and voting at home with assistive devices, the voting rights of people under conservatorship, and the prohibition of voting on behalf of someone else using a power of attorney. The process of resolving issues of missing or non-matching signatures on vote-by-mail ballot envelopes, and there are always a lot of questions about that, and situations in which a voter uses a mark such as an X to sign their vote-by-mail ballot when witnessed by someone else, how a voter may authorize another person to return their completed vote-by-mail ballot, information on disability etiquette available to poll workers, updates to the elections website, and, of course, the Yolo County Election Administration Plan. And the committee, as described, is made up of community members, and this could include people with disabilities, as well as poll workers and others, and members of advocacy organizations and these subject matter experts. And participants include Yolo's, let's see, where did we go? Right here. Here we go. Yolo's assessor, clerk recorder, and registrar of voters, Jesse Salinas. Elections office staff members, Armando Salud, who I know is here this morning, and Melinda Dubrov and Annette Lim. Residents Christy Lee, who is here this morning, Shelton Yip, Leanne Munoz, Robert Ulrey, and Ed Castro, and staff attorney Carrie Liu of Disability Rights California's Voting Rights Practice Group, and Peter Mendoza and Anne de Medeiros of the State Council on Developmental Disabilities. As a person with multiple disabilities, it is so exciting to be part of a group in which having disabilities is a strength rather than a perceived weakness or something that I would be expected to minimize. This committee has room for new members, and we always welcome interested members of the public. We meet via video conference on third Wednesdays at 5:30 p.m. More information is on the elections website or available if you email elections@yolocounty.org. Nothing about us without us is a tenet of the disability rights movement. One key way for people with disabilities to have a say in government programs geared towards them is to vote. This is one of the many reasons the American Association for People with Disabilities kickstarted Disability Voting Rights Week on the national level. I would like to say that we're lucky to live in a place that values accessible voting, but it isn't so much luck as it is the product of our community voting that value. Thank you so much for your support for accessible elections and for this proclamation.
Thank you.
Jesse Salinas, Yolo County Assessor, Clerk Recorder, and Elections Official. Just wanted to thank Kate. She did such an amazing job of covering all the key highlights. I do want to emphasize two other items. One is she highlighted, and I want to reaffirm that, and that we always are looking for members of the community. So if anybody you know, even if you yourself are not interested, if you know somebody that would like to join us, we want voices from the community to help guide us and direct us so we can provide the best election possible, the most accessible possible, number one. Number two, we've been looking around across the state. We may be the first county to actually celebrate this Disability Voting Rights Week like this. So kudos to all of you. Thank you for all your support in the elections. And as you can see, we have amazing people in the community like Kate that are here to help us run an excellent election. So thank you very much.